Hey, this is Calvin Parker. You're listening to the Unbelievers podcast.
There were several groups. One of the principal ones was the reptilians from the Orion complex.
Without any exaggeration, it was like being on fire inside.
Rats were eating you up inside.
This stuff was in my mouth. It felt like it was 500 degrees. It was unbelievably hot.
My first question would be, were you a member of the Church of Satan, a card-carrying member of the Church of Satan?
I don't understand.
There's always an argument for everything. You know, just because somebody can fake something doesn't necessarily mean it's
World War, and we found a life form. And that's when I started shitting my pants.
So for the person who called, I am carrying an alien.
An alien baby. We covered right here, okay?
Okay.
Something is happening. What is it? That's the question. So do UFOs exist? It depends on what you mean exist.
Conspiracy theories have taken many forms in the modern age, from large government plots hatched in smoke-filled secret offices to the smaller ones like Chuck E. Cheese reforming used pizzas and selling them to unsuspecting customers. Popular culture has become wrought with conspiracies, such as the idea that professional sports are rigged or that the Illuminati uses hidden symbolism in TV and print advertising. Some even believe that there are many so-called conspiracies in the most sacred institution of all, the music industry. Tonight, the Unbelievers podcast delves back into the rabbit hole of conspiracies to discuss some popular and not so popular theories from the world of music. So join us now as we attempt to find the truth behind some of our favorite rock and roll conspiracies. Right here in the program, we continue to learn to unlearn everything you know. Hello and welcome to the Unbelievers podcast. I'm your host, Rus Ryan, and joining me as always is my co-host, Drea Mora. Hello, Drea.
Hey, what's up?
And our soundboard engineer and producer, Rob Okey.
Gentlemen, let's go get this hairy bastard.
Yeah, go! Did you forget how long that thing was? Hello, Rob.
I knew just how long it was, and I wanted it to play out. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey.
Not much. I'm very excited because we are just a week away from finally meeting and recording together for the first time in Point Pleasant. It's all in our minds, and so we're very excited about this.
Yeah, this is going to suck. It's going to be a shit show.
3 years in the making. 3 years in the making.
I can't believe it. I honestly, it doesn't seem like it's been that long, and it doesn't seem like we've never met before, but I think about it, I'm like, holy shit, this is a first. This is really kind of strange.
It's a monumental moment for the Unbelievers community. Let's just say it right now. Let's just call it what it is, okay?
A momentous moment.
We're going to know weird little things about each other. We'll find out if Rob smells or anything.
You get to probably smell me. You get to smell. And you know what I'm going to say when I see you? I'm going to say,
Could you smell it?
Yeah. Wonderful.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Tyra.
Oh, I mean, we can give that
Before
to you.
That, we got it. Rob, we'll get to that next week. All the Mothman stuff is coming next week. But for tonight, we've got a special episode we can't wait to get into now. It's Rock and Roll Conspiracies. Rentals, conspiracy, love the rentals.
Nice.
Cool. Very good. Cool. And it's very appropriate because tonight we will be discussing conspiracies, but not your average conspiracies, though. We will be talking about conspiracies from the world of rock and roll. These are rocking conspiracies. That's exciting, yes?
It's so exciting.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
I love these music-related episodes. We've done what? Hell's Bells, Rock and Roll Aliens. We got Diddy Kong from.
Mm-hmm.
Done The Beatles Never Broke Up. And celebrity death conspiracies. I mean, that was pretty much all musicians.
It overlapped a little bit. Yes,
true.
It did, big time.
I didn't realize how much we've covered, but yeah, you're right.
A lot. And you're a big fan. Yeah, you love rock music. Yes, Drea?
Of course, yeah.
And Rob, you're a bit of a conspiracy nut, right?
A little bit. I guess a little bit. I dabble.
Great. So let's get into our first rockin' conspiracy. And this is one that's been around for a long time, mainly due to one man who has championed a very bizarre theory regarding the death of a very important musician. Here is the man, Steve Lightfoot, to explain his rock and roll conspiracy theory.
Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan was none other than the famous author Stephen King. When I got to this headline, who is in, who is out, about newly elected Reagan, I thought, what's going on in the headlines? What are these, cryptography and the bold print all about John Lennon's murder in Time magazine? Because Reagan was just elected, and John Lennon was just shot.
This is Steve Lightfoot, who believes that John Lennon was not assassinated by Mark David Chapman, but by author Stephen King. Are you familiar with this conspiracy, Drea?
I'm not like back and forth, but I have heard of it. I just never, you know me, how I react to these conspiracy theories. I didn't even bother diving in because I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Oh, well, you get to do it tonight. And here is more about this explosive conspiracy theory from Steve's website, LennonMurderTruth.com. Quote, contrary to all reports about a lone drifter named Mark David Chapman who allegedly shot John Lennon in the back December 8, 1980, you'll find ample evidence in the back issues of Time, Newsweek, and U.S. News and World Report magazines to suggest otherwise. Namely, that John Lennon was not only politically assassinated, but that Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, and you'd better sit down, horror novelist Stephen King are the three people who can be proven guilty of the crime. King being the real murderer and Chapman but a lookalike. A paid actor misleading you with an absolute hoax, and the media is in tow. The evidence specifically is government codes in the bold print headlines of those magazines that were printed shortly before, during, and after the night of December 8th, 1980. Hints in the headlines that you won't find anywhere else that plug into John Lennon's assassination with up to 70% frequency at times. End quote.
Wow.
So now you have a better understanding. That is LennonMurderTruth.com truth dropping there.
Somehow I have a better understanding and I'm more confused at the same time.
So much more truth, but somehow less believable.
It does, when he veers off, it does become a little less believable because his main realization, it came by analyzing headlines in those popular news sources. And using his deductive powers, he found the hidden messages that pointed to Nixon, Reagan, and Stephen King being responsible for the murder of John Lennon. And let's hear about some of these encoded headlines from Steve.
Surrounding the murder that plug into John Lennon's assassination. Headlines like, all the president's magazines, full of picking anger, Andy Hoffman, Donkey Wilson, the real John Lennon, thinking about John Lennon, using weapons, the base president, the all manner of time, pistol bang bang shoot out. Mental puzzles, all the picking anger, the whole loaded name. I started with Trevor, and here has my vision of Anthony for approach in Dayford's own music.
Guess what? I mean, case closed. I'm sold. Those headlines, they're just flaunting their deception right in front of your face.
Yeah, they leave absolutely no other option. That's obviously what those headlines mean. America needs a poet laureate, maybe.
Well, I mean, play soundboard one. I don't know how you can argue with this one. Exactly.
That's my favorite.
You combine that with some other headlines. Yeah. What do you think, Rob?
Why would they leave these clues like this, though?
Because they like to flaunt it in your face and predictive programming.
Yeah, man.
And things like that.
Just like a serial killer. They're like, I want to get caught.
This is a cocky move, basically, is kind of what you're saying?
They put it out there for one guy to find out and go crazy trying to tell everyone about it. And speaking of that, here's some more from LennonMurderTruth.com. Quote, according to identical matching photos of Stephen King attached to the book reviews about Firestarter months before the assassination,
The man photographed getting Lennon's autograph hours before he killed him is not Mark Chapman, like we're all told. Chapman's glasses are the wrong prescription. His features are more centrally boxed in the middle of his face, and his hair is the wrong texture, as well as the fact that the killer has dimples that Chapman does not. Only Stephen King's features exactly trace the proportions of the autograph hound. Chapman is a look-alike actor.
Oh, yeah, because that makes sense. Let's get a guy to pretend to be a famous author, but the famous author is such a skilled killer, assassin, that they need to use this other guy as a patsy to take the fall. Why wouldn't they just get somebody else entirely?
I don't know. This is Stephen King's way of getting in the Illuminati. They're like, you got to take somebody out. We'll get a lookalike guy, and he'll go to jail, but you have to do the act.
I'm pulling up the picture right now. This way I can just have a fresh look at it. It's Mark David Chapman and John Lennon together, right? And I mean, I remember seeing this. This is a very famous picture, and I never thought that it looked particularly like Stephen King,
because you forget how Stephen King looked at the time. He shouldn't worry about the headlines as much. I think we'll get in more to that, because Stephen King then did kind of look like the guy. I mean, they're both kind of like a chubby, nerdy face with these just huge glasses.
I don't know. I don't know though.
Well, like, why would Stephen King go and like in broad daylight or whatever, like in the public eye, go and get an autograph from John Lennon?
It's all in LennonMurderTruth.com.
Yeah.
And
right.
this theory and website from Steve Lightfoot, it gained notoriety because Steve has a van decked out with the LennonMurderTruth.com just plastered all over it. He's got articles and headlines covering the windows of this van, and he's been driving this van around the California Bay Area for decades. I mean, decades. That audio we heard of him before, he's standing in front of his van. He's pointing to the window at some of the articles he has there. And
I gotta say, like, that's usually the selling point for me. When someone just plasters their vehicle completely in it, that totally makes them a lot more believable. You know, they're convicted.
Well, that's a sure sign of sanity, of course, if you start plastering things all over your
man.
vehicle. Just means you really want to get a message out there. That's all.
Truly.
Imagine living next door to the guy, or like working with the guy. Like, yeah, I work with that murder van guy. Yeah, he's had that thing since the 90s.
Very cute.
He's on his third one.
It's that could be a nuisance to the neighborhood. I'm sure there's been some reports. There's probably been complaints, but I mean, I guess it's America. You can do what you want.
Yeah, he thought this was America. He can say this. So he's got the van. That's great. But his other method of raising awareness for this cause is calling talk radio stations on a very consistent basis since the 90s. And he has been subsequently banned from many, many California radio stations because he calls in all the time about this. And he started calling into a national radio show, Coast to Coast AM, with Art Bell.
I've heard of that one.
Unfortunately, I cannot find any of the calls, but thankfully, he still calls into Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, where he is somehow able to get on the air quite a lot. And he is promptly hung up on once he mentioned Stephen King and John Lennon, but he will not be stopped from getting this message out. So he's forced to get creative. And here he is in May of last year, calling in as Mitchell from Santa Clara.
Next up, we've got Mitchell in Santa Clara, California. Hey, Mitch, welcome.
Thank you, George. I appreciate your politeness and your tolerance.
But the tolerance is there. That's for sure.
You know, for 75 years, Truman had the onus on him as the world's worst villain with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but now I think it's the president of China. But, you know, there were three objectives if they did this on purpose. One of them, in my opinion, was the Hong Kong protests.
Yep.
The other was the failing impeachment hearings against Trump. And the third one was the biggest story they're afraid of, about who killed John Lennon and the American people.
Steve Lightfoot.
Oh, busted. Yeah. He was snuffed out by George and cut off. As soon as he says John Lennon, they have a guy just with his finger on the button.
Mid-sentence, they got him.
That was great.
That was pretty good.
Oh, they had to.
They had to. It felt like Late Night at the Apollo when the hook comes out and just yanks the person off the stage really quick. It was like that.
It works both ways, too, because he was trying to bait George. He started talking about China and COVID. And George's like, oh, yeah, I remote viewed that. Yeah. Go on. Of course. Yeah. Well, what about China?
They had him for a second.
Yeah. But normally this would be it for Steve, trying to fake his way onto the show. But George must have been in a really good mood this night because he didn't hang up on him this time. Check it out.
Steve Lightfoot. That's Steve Lag. I got to put him back on for a second, Danny. Let me ask him. Steve, is this you?
This is me.
That's good. Now, let me. You don't have to do this anymore. You don't have to sneak in. We should have you on to talk about your theories because Michael Zwirling, who owns KSCO, interviewed you for a whole show, didn't he? Once, twice. But don't you have a van and all that?
Yes.
But you're dead serious about this. You really think that Stephen King killed John Lennon? Tell me why.
His face matches the face of the guy who shot John Lennon when he's posing as Mark David Chapman getting the autograph. Time and Newsweek magazines are printed by the CIA. They document secrets, a la bold print coded messages. Richard Nixon's book, The Real War, that talks about why we have to kill people like John Lennon, is photographed the day of the murder in Time and Newsweek next to Reagan, and Stephen King writes about it. He's never denied it. And this story was close to breaking right before this Wuhan thing came out.
See, COVID ruined his big moment. The story was about to break, and then bam.
Yeah, man, COVID's ruining everything. The case was about to break. There's definitely no statute of limitations, right?
I mean, this is 1980, though. So Stephen King was busy doing massive amounts of cocaine, writing crazy books at this point. So I don't know.
He had just written Firestarter.
Why would he be doing this as a side gig?
Well, now that you just said that, somebody who's doing crazy amounts of cokes and writing a bunch of crazy books, like that does sound like somebody who's going to kill somebody.
In that phrasing, maybe it did make him sound a little suspect.
But I don't believe he did.
I'm just saying he was too busy to be doing this, basically.
For sure.
There's an alibi. There's got to be an alibi.
He's successful already. He didn't need the Illuminati's dick money or whatever. Like, oh, you can get into our special club for
start making all the
killing somebody.
movies.
He's like, I don't need your fucking club. Stephen King hates the Illuminati.
Yeah. What do you think of that, man? George Norrie gets reeled into this. Place number 2. I like how George acts all coy about the Lennon murder van.
But don't you have a van and all that?
Yes, of course he has a van. That's what he's well known for.
A van down by the river. That's what it always comes back to, really, is that same sort of thing where the guy lives in a van down by the river. But I don't know, man. It's the picture doesn't really look like Stephen King to me still.
No.
It still doesn't do it for me.
He learned. He's still talking about the headlines, but he's like, well, why do you think this happened? He's like, it's good that he's like, look at him. Just look at him. It's like, okay, well, now you're not leading with the programming headlines. You're going, well, he looks like him, right? It's like, oh, yeah, okay.
His main thing is that picture. He's obsessed with that fucking picture. He's just like, this is Stephen King. I feel like he saw it once and he was like, that looks kind of like Stephen King. And somewhere in his life, something in his mind snapped in that moment, and he's just been literally stuck in that thought ever since.
Yeah, man, this is probably really about something else. Like, I bet this is around the time maybe like his wife divorced him or left him or something, and he hasn't seen his kids, and so he's just fixated on something else entirely. Like, truth. I worry about this dude.
True. We got to get you on Coast with George. You can analyze him. So let's hear what George has to say after that.
Interesting take. I'm going to put you on hold. I want you to give us your website and numbers. Fair enough?
LennonMurderTruth.com.
All right, let's do that. Tom, get his phone number, and maybe we'll work something out here. But Mitch, you don't have to sneak in anymore. You don't have to do that. You know, we'll give you your due, and you'll talk about your theories. And I don't think it's true, but you have reasons to believe what you do. I've seen your material. I've seen your van, and you are dead serious about what you're doing. But Tommy will take.
Okay, so George invites him on as a guest. I thought that was pretty nice, but he did call him Mitch again. He's like, Mitch. It's like, I thought that was funny.
That was definitely, I will give a little tip of the hat to George Norrie. If that was intentional, it was a little bit of a snub just to let him know that it doesn't really take him that seriously to call him the intentional wrong name. It's like, look,
it had to be. He called him his first and last name before, unless he's just looking at his paper. He's moving on. Like, oh yeah, what's your name? Mitch in Santa Clara.
And you know that you are supporting some bullshit when even George Norrie is like, I don't really believe you. Like, if that's really the way the conversation starts with George Norrie, is him saying he doesn't believe you, you don't stand a chance in this
with
game.
Conviction like that. Yeah, because I was going to say, and this I think kind of goes hand in hand with it. It shows how slow of a day he's been having, or like he needs some kind of guest on the show. He's like, all right,
wait, don't go, don't leave. Like he thought he hung up. He's like, no, stay.
You know what? Let's just have him on. Fuck it. We don't have anything better.
I feel like after that, it's just like conspiracy theory just might not be for you, man. Just find another hobby that you can just really embrace here.
George saying that he doesn't believe it. I don't know. Play soundboard 3 because.
I've seen your van.
Okay, well, case closed. I don't know. I couldn't help it. Another van clip.
The van low blows, I feel like, are. He didn't need to go there. He didn't need to bring the van.
He didn't make fun of the van as far as it being his mode of transportation. It's just like, look, this dude's putting himself out there by decking his whole van out like that. He's getting an appropriate reaction. Like, that's what you get.
It's just the tone.
We need more conspiracy vans. Like, every conspiracy encrypted, gotta have a van with everything decked out.
They bring so much character to the neighborhood.
Just the most condescending way to bring the van up, though. That's all I'm saying. He just sounds very condescending. His voice sounds very facetious when he brings that van up every time.
I've seen your van.
So this call was May of last year, and I did some research to see if Steve Lightfoot was ever booked as a guest after this call. He was not.
Oh, damn.
And
man.
I don't think he is too happy about it. I say that because he is calling and getting through to Coast a lot recently. I'm talking very recently. And it doesn't matter what host or what topic, he finds his way in. Like this clip from just 2 weeks ago when the guest was author Mark Mirabello, who was talking about secret societies with part-time Coast to Coast host Richard Surrett, who I'm not very familiar with. Here is Richard Surrett getting an open line call from Steve Lightfoot, who has a new alias.
Let's move on to, I think we can work in one more here, Mark. We're going to say hi to, let's see, Greg is in Los Angeles. Greg, welcome.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Your other callers were talking about Satanists running the world. The other end of that, the way to end this satanic cult that does run the world, is to demand a public viewing of a firing squad execution of author Stephen.
All right, no, we'll move on.
Oh my God!
Wow. All right,
that's insane.
At least he didn't say Mark Mirabello, so I'm happy with that.
Yes, indeed. Let's see. Stephanie's in Burbank, California. Stephanie, good morning.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can, loud and clear.
Hello.
Hey, y'all.
Hello.
So Kathleen Roberts gets through at the end. But yeah, man, they dumped that one quick. It's like, it seems like he's ratcheting up his rhetoric against King. I think he's now a little scorned because I would be worried about this guy. He sounds like a problem from that. Play soundboard 4. You can't just go on the radio and say,
public viewing of a firing squad execution of author Stephen.
I was like, all right, Steve Lightfoot.
They cut him off there too, didn't they? Before he could even finish.
I mean, well, good. You can't just publicly call for someone's death like that. Like, it's just, that's getting a little bit dicey on the whole First Amendment thing,
He gave up on the nice approach. Yeah, he had the nice approach. Not that nice. George was feeling nice one night, I guess.
Yeah.
I just love how aware they are to cut him off. Like, how many radio stations know about this guy? They
I know
almost
he got on a few nights ago again. This was August 27th that we just heard. He's still doing this constantly. And play soundboard 5. What is up with this Richard Surrett? I thought I was listening to Casey Kasem. It's like Casey Kasem meets Jay-Z Knight on Coast to Coast. Listen.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, bless you, indeed. Thank you.
I was going to say, he did have a Casey Kasem tone to his voice.
He's got that big-time radio voice going. And well, that's where this conspiracy stands as of now. Because if you tune in to Coast any given night now, you might be blessed with a Steve Lightfoot call threatening alleged John Lennon murderer Stephen King. What do you think all this? Is Steve mentally unstable? Is he on drugs? Is he right? What do you think, Drea?
The first two. He's definitely unstable. I don't know about his drug habits, but he definitely sounds like he either needs a hobby or he's, like I said before, he's fixating on something that's like not the issue at hand. If he's really this convinced about it, then if I were Stephen King, I'd be worried. I'd be concerned because it's one thing to have somebody just mouthing off and saying shit about you, but when they're calling for your execution, like, I mean, I'm sorry, Stephen King's a national treasure, so you better don't.
Yeah, I guess not. What about you, Rob?
I was going to say, like, even if he did do it, Stephen King gets the pass on this one, man. Have you ever read it? Have you ever seen The Green Mile? Like he got away with it. He's one of the best writers of all time, I think. So
kill John Lennon. Come on, that scale goes the other way on that one. I think. I like Stephen King. Don't get me wrong.
No, John Lennon was a piece of shit. So
obviously, I'm joking here, but I mean, this whole thing is a joke. This guy, there's no way that. Hates the Beatles. I mean, I feel bad for this man that he has gotten himself so attached to this strange conspiracy theory, such a niche theory that like I don't really see.
It's his though.
So many people just probably shut him down when he started. Like we've heard it. Everybody shuts him down when he starts talking about it. So I don't feel like anybody else except for him believes in this theory.
And he got that carrot dangled in front of him ever so briefly by George Norris. Like, I'm going to be on. Yeah, be on the official. It does legitimize. It legitimizes whatever you're doing because they link you as a guest on there. And they have like a little profile. And it's like they're not giving him that treatment. That whatever 2 minutes. That was your guest appearance. Now you just get to troll every other host for eternity. Now,
now you get to be a new JC.
Maybe we can get him on. Maybe we can get him on. Maybe we'll reach out. I bet you we could talk to him for 2 minutes and we'll hang up on him.
I bet you guys could talk to him.
He needs to read some Stephen King books. This way he can really learn to appreciate Stephen King in a different light.
Also, he can decode that and be like, oh, see, this is the confession. If you look at every other paragraph starts with a letter that, I don't know, could start a word. Like, no, don't give him that fuel.
I don't know. I feel like something happened when he was a youngster between either Stephen King bullied him when they were little. They like ran into each other and had a bad experience with him, or like he didn't like his book possibly, and it just rubbed him the wrong way.
Yeah, you know what? This all comes down to he doesn't like Stephen King's writing. It just wants to see him gone. He just
doesn't like Stephen King is really what this is about.
Hated Carrie, and he's been taking it with him ever since.
He hates that shit. So it's not for everybody.
And I got one more thing to note just before we move on from this is that he said Stephen King has never denied it. He has. On the website, he even shows a letter Stephen King wrote him that's like, I did not kill John Lennon. Go get a new hobby. Leave me alone. He posted on his own website. He's like, yeah, he's never denied it. It's like, you have the letter on your site. All right. Yeah. It's time to move on to our next rock and roll conspiracy. And this one involves another very famous classic British rock band and their battle with rods.
You had it all in front of you. You could have been the Rolling Stones, and suddenly it all fell to pieces.
Despite a top 10 hit and touring with Talking Heads and the Ramones, the Hot Rods suddenly vanished from the pop world. And some believe their demise was the result of a black magic curse put on them by none other than rock legend Jimmy Page.
Yes, this is about the band Eddie and the Hot Rods, not the metal band The Rods that we played before.
My God.
Oh, right.
Jesus. Can I just say?
There will be more on rods.
There is finally more on rods for Russ.
There is, because play Soundboard 6. I would have been more excited if they had just said this instead.
Rods suddenly vanished from the pop world.
No! We got to get on the case.
Bring them back.
That'd be heartbreaking for you, Russ, if rods just vanish off the face of the planet.
Well, the rods are in the battle of their life here. I'm talking about the Hot Rods because
I forgot.
Somehow Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin is giving them a little problem. And do you guys know much about Eddie and the Hot Rods?
No, honestly, I don't.
Who does?
Well, I'll tell you that Eddie and the Hot Rods were a pub rock band from Essex founded in 1975, and they are best known for their 1977 UK top 10 hit, Do Anything You Want to Do, released under the name Eddie and the Hot Rods. And according to their Wikipedia, at some point, they were known as just The Rods, but they added Eddie and the hot part. But let's hear more about the Hot Rods conspiracy from lead singer Barry Masters.
Apparently, in some interview he was doing, he had said, "Oh, death to Eddie and the Hot Rods."
Eddie and the Hot Rods played a unique brand of power rock, belted out by their lead singer Barry Masters.
When we first started playing and making up our own songs, we got that really powerful kind of rock stuff. Hence the name Hot Rods.
Signed to Island Records, they were playing 250 gigs a year in both Europe and America.
I think we were biggest grossing live act for that year.
But just months later, the band was hit with a stream of disasters, which eventually led to their breakup. Incredibly, many believe, including lead singer Barry Masters, that the Hot Rod's bad luck wasn't just luck, but something far more sinister.
Yes, this is a cursed band, Eddie and the Hot Rods. And I'm going to go on a limb and say that they were not the highest grossing live band in any year. I don't know where he's pulling that from. And they never will be. But that's you heard him too. He said we made powerful rock stuff, hence the name Hot Rods. Like, well, yeah, of course.
That didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
Powerful rock stuff. Oh yeah, Hot
maybe
Rods.
to their local area, like in their town,
in Essex,
maybe
sure.
in
Essex, possibly
yeah. Of
year?
bands that are from Essex, then maybe that stands.
Maybe.
I don't know.
And there is a reason that Eddie, who, as Drea has noticed, he's just a guy named Barry. There is no Eddie.
What's up with that?
It should be Barry and the Rods. It's Eddie and the Hot Rods.
Right? What's wrong? Like Barry Rods. That sounds fine. Like, he should have just stuck with his
Is
name.
Ed short for Barry? Is that a thing?
I don't know what it is, but there is a reason that Eddie and the Hot Rods never became a household name, and it is a rock and roll cursed conspiracy.
A curse set on them by one of the greatest guitarists of all time, Jimmy Page.
Someone said that we'd incurred the wrath of Jimmy Page, and when he saw the logo for Do Anything You Want to Do, he took great offence to it. I don't know, but it is strange how everything did go wrong afterwards.
Suddenly, we had problems with finance. A lot of what we had been earning seemed to disappear. Things were looking serious.
The theory is that the alleged curse has its roots in the song's title. Do anything you want to do. Do anything you want to do. Written by Graham Douglas and manager Ed Hollis, it was inspired by the writings of 19th century occultist Aleister Crowley. Crowley's quasi-religion put personal freedom at its center, and that attracted many rock and rollers, especially Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page.
So Jimmy Page is not happy that the Rods are making their rocking pop songs out of Aleister Crowley writings.
Yes.
Man, wait till he hears about Ozzy. Like, Jimmy Page is going to flip when he hears about that.
I mean, there's so many other artists that Jimmy Page could totally target if that were the case. I think it's this kind of huge ego thing to say, to even think about somebody else is like, oh yeah, Jimmy Page hates us so much and he's so threatened by us that he had to curse us. Like, dudes, I don't know.
Jimmy Page is probably a Crowley hipster and kind of looks down on these guys. But you heard the effect that this curse has seems unclear from what they're saying. they're like, what? They lost some money. Some money was gone. It's like, yeah, that's cocaine, guys. You are
irresponsible.
You are a rock band in the 70s touring with the Ramones. This is not complicated. That your finances are cursed.
Where'd all the money go?
This is kind of suggesting that Jimmy Page is like Verloc, like somewhere with doing some spells with pictures possibly of the Hot Rods, trying to curse them through some sort of black magic.
Using his Crowley powers.
Crowley infused power. Yeah. I don't know, man. I feel like it's also just easy to blame him for your failure in another way.
Oh, super. Exactly. That's exactly. I agree with you.
I don't know. I might sway you guys because the Hot Rods did more than just name a song after Aleister Crowley's writings. They went even further.
But it's the way the band insulted Crowley next that it's claimed angered Page so much, he put a curse on them. They used a picture of Crowley on the front cover of the single and added Mickey Mouse ears.
I think Ed had a lot of good marketing ideas. The juxtaposition of the two was quite striking, I think.
Holy shit, Mickey Mouse ears on the Beast 666, the wickedest man in the world. Parab Duro? That's a little bit much, Hot Rods. That's way too far.
Asking for a curse right there. There you go.
I mean, that's a classic.
Explains everything.
That's a classic hilarious joke that you pull on somebody. You got to put the Mickey Mouse ears on them. It's hilarious. Come on.
You do that in photos all the
You
time.
guys not find that hilarious?
Look, it's an honor to be compared to Mickey Mouse.
Crowley did say, "Do anything you want to do." That's the name of the song.
There you go.
We're putting Mickey Mouse ears on you, Crowley. How you like that?
No, not that.
Seems innocent. Seems kind of like, even with a slight sense of humor, he might enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can see why people would get kind of pissed off about it if they really look up to this idiot. And sorry, I mean, I have opinions on Aleister Crowley, but yeah,
Sounds like
It's Mickey Mouse ears. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, really, that's gonna incur the wrath? Like, it's like Russ said. He said, "Do as you will."
This is Jimmy Page, though, and he is such a fan of Crowley. Let's find out how big of a fan he actually was.
Despite their single reaching number 9, the Hot Rods imploded soon after. But could it really have been down to Jimmy Page?
People sometimes ask me, does Jimmy really take this stuff seriously? Of course, it's an offensive question, really. For Jimmy, the main thing in Crowley's teachings is what you would call self-liberation through the act of will. All magic is ultimately about affecting future outcomes, both pro and con.
Throughout the 70s, Page spent his fortune on acquiring Crowley's property, ultimately buying the occultist's house, Boleskine, on the shores of Loch Ness. Despite being an admirer of Crowley's and even living in his home, it seems far-fetched that one of rock's biggest names would concern himself with the promotional efforts of an up-and-coming band. But as far as Barry Masters is concerned, after the release of Do Anything You Want to Do, bad luck seemed to follow the band and anyone associated with them.
See, he is so hardcore into Crowley. He even had a Loch Ness mention, man. This thing has it all. It's got curses, rods, Loch Ness. I love it.
Yeah, the trifecta.
That's all you need.
That's what we're always looking for.
Yeah, that's so the guy brings up a good point. Like, why would he like intentionally want to anger all this stuff and everything? It's just a bad luck is bad luck.
But he was offended. You could tell that he said he takes it serious enough to where this would be offensive. And it was more than just lost finances that was haunting Eddie and the Hot Rods. Other stuff happened as well.
It just seemed the strangest things started to go wrong. We did the Mark Bolan programme. Well, a couple of days later was the horrible day where Mark Bolan got killed in the car. Really weird, like having to do a programme once for the guy once he's dead. But again, that was just another sort of straw on the camel's back, as it was.
Mark Bolan of T-Rex, he is claiming that his death was caused by Jimmy Page getting revenge on the Hot Rods for putting Mickey Mouse ears on Aleister Crowley. Okay.
No, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm trying to see at what
Steve
point
Lightfoot. Steve Lightfoot's looking at this guy like a weirdo now. He's like, I look a lot more credible in comparison.
Like, I'm gonna get revenge for them making fun of me by
killing Mark Bolan. I think Mark Bolan.
Can't believe Jimmy Page did that, guys. That's so fucked up.
Yeah, what a jerk.
They were
man.
friends. Mark Bolan and Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page even tutored him on guitar. I read. You would have no reason to kill Mark Bolan over the Hot Rods.
No, yeah, like I said, it's calling in so much like these are delusions of grandeur to assume that all these things must be centered around me.
We would have been huge. The Rods would have taken over if it wasn't for Jimmy Page and Aleister Crowley.
Does this curse have no boundaries? Now it's killing people? I thought this was just a bad luck curse.
And just people who interact with them, not them themselves. It didn't kill them, just other people.
I feel like this curse needs to be tamed down a little bit. It seems like it's getting out of control here.
Well, Mark Bolan never did have him back, the Rods back on his show after that happened. Yeah. So Jimmy Page, one for him. Here, let's hear the next clip. This is the final word on the Jimmy Hates Rods conspiracy.
With no more hits, far from being the next Rolling Stones, as some had predicted, the band split in 1981. So could there be any truth in the conspiracy theory?
I would be truly amazed if that were true. I really would. I mean, I wish I could tell you it was true because it's a lovely story, but Jimmy Page doesn't take undue offense when people make fun of Crowley or have some terrible misunderstanding or make appalling jokes or whatever. Those people are ignorant as far as Jimmy and various adepts are concerned. That ignorance has been around forever.
No, they're ignorant. That's ignorant.
Yes, thank you, Kathleen Roberts. And it sounds like to them the Hot Rods are just huge posers in the Crowley world. The real followers, like Jimmy Page, they look at these guys like they're clowns for doing this.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, maybe it's actually Aleister Crowley's spirit being like, you guys are making a mockery of even believing in any of this stuff.
Well, Nixon, Reagan, and Stephen King sound more plausible than Jimmy Page, Aleister Crowley, and the devil getting together.
Yeah, no, you're right. Sadly.
There is a level of maturity that comes along with following, like, a certain type of spirituality or a religion. Like you're usually, if you're going to follow these things, you're devout to it in one way or another. And even to get to that point, I feel like, you need to kind of be above what other people think about your beliefs. So it feels like, this is just general religion, like a strong, devout Christian person. They don't give a shit if you go and you say that they're dumb for believing in Christ. They're just like,
right,
okay.
They do all kind of art installations
very, very good
that
point.
do super offensive things. They're not
it's part
cursing.
Part of it is just being above that. That shows that you truly are a follower and you are devout to whatever, you're practicing, because you're not going to waste time on those other sort of things that aren't important.
I'm rubber, you're glue.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. Paige probably doesn't have time for the hot rods. And I have a fun fact about Eddie and the hot rods for you guys before we move on from them. They have had a ton of different members over the years to back up singer Barry, quote unquote, Eddie Masters. And at one point, they had two members named Rob Steele and Russ Strutter.
Holy shit.
No way.
Those are some cool rock names. I like Rob Steele.
This is like us, like reincarnated, maybe. This was our previous life where we were in a band. We were in the
Are those guys dead? I think
I don't know. I think this is before our time. I'm just going to roll with it, Dates
I was going to say, can we start a band and call ourselves Steele and Strutter featuring Drea?
Yeah.
Can we get some artwork of that, maybe?
Yeah, we can.
All right, that's good. And
sure.
Drea, what are your final thoughts on this one? Conspiracy? Curse? Nothing at all?
Definitely a conspiracy, but I mean, conspiracy doesn't really have credence. I don't think that it's like you said, sadly, the other conspiracy theory holds more water than this.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
It is. I'm surprised that this show chose to tell this story that mentions T-Rex frontman Mark Bolan just very briefly and not actually tell the story of Mark Bolan himself, which I find very interesting because Bolan was alleged to also be a disciple of Aleister Crowley, along with Jimmy Page and David Bowie and others at the time, and that Mark Bolan may have predicted his own death in a 1977 car accident at age 30. And this is some info from an article on a website called EX Utopia. In interviews, he had said he believed he would die young. His final album that came out a few months before his death was titled Dandy of the Underworld. He also seemed to have a fixation on cars with lyrics like Hubcap, Diamond Star Halo, and Tyrannosaurus Rex, Eater of Cars. And even stranger are the lyrics to T-Rex's 1972 Solid Gold Easy Action. The track opens with the lines, "Life is the same as it always will be, easy as picking foxes from a tree." And fans have pointed out the apparent correlation with the number plate of Bolan's Mini, the car which would drive the couple into the sycamore tree that killed them. The license plate was FOX Fox 661L. So what do you think of that? Fox wrapped around a tree? He predicted this 5 years before.
Okay, everything that you were saying before, I was like, yeah, super coincidence. Like, people like cars and don't always die in car crashes. I mean, car crashes are so common, but it wasn't until that last detail, though, the whole fox picking it out of a tree. Like, that's interesting.
It reminds me a lot of the Beatles conspiracies about Paul is dead, kind of. Like, it's in that same sort of realm.
It's in that same realm where you look for the clues.
Yeah.
There is. And later on in that song, one of the lyrics is "A woman from the east with her headlights shining." So people also point to that. And it's,
well, that just means her nipples, dude.
Yeah, it could be. Could be. This was Mark Bolan we're talking about. And another part of the ongoing mythology that surrounds the short life and subsequent tragic death of Mark Bolan is the story of a curse afflicting many of those closely associated with the star. Founding member of T-Rex, Steve Cook, died in 1980 when he choked to death on a cocktail cherry. His throat had been numbed. Wow. His throat was numbed by a mixture of morphine and magic mushrooms. Oh. And then bassist Steve Curry, he died the following year in a car crash in Portugal. And then both of his parents died in 1991. And the next three deaths were all heart attacks. Bolan's widow died in 94. His manager, Tony Secunda, died in 95. And his ex-wife, Chelita, in 2000. And she's important because Chelita Secunda, she's sometimes credited with having started the glam rock movement because it was her idea to to paint Mark Bolan's face with glitter before shows.
Wow,
and
interesting.
Also, finally, much later in 2019, Barry Masters, the last living member of the original Eddie and the Hot Rods, passed away at age 63, and he was survived by his arch nemesis, Jimmy Page, who is alive and well thanks to his Crowley powers given to him after sticking up for his master when someone put Mickey Mouse ears on him. And that is the story of Mark Bolan, which, I think is much more fascinating than the Hot Rods. What do you think, Drea?
I do think that is a more interesting story just in general, as far as, if I'm going to sit down and read or watch about any of these people's lives and careers, Mark Bolan's is definitely going to get my pick. But as far as that, like, oh, look at all these people that were connected to him that died, like, yeah, those were all spaced apart in a normal amount of years. Like, that's just life, dude.
When you get to the 2000s and he died in 77, it's like, all right, well, yeah, we assumed they were going to die later. But the other members of the band died pretty young, too, in the early 80s and 90s.
Yeah, they were doing a bunch of drugs, that made sense.
Yeah, they were getting it from the Rods, who were on hard times.
The thing I found most fascinating about this story was the combination of magic mushrooms and what was the other thing? Morphine?
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah.
That's a cocktail and a half, right? That'll get you.
Yeah, I was like,
that'll get you.
You're on morphine and you're clearly drinking because you choked on a cocktail cherry. Like, who is out there not just throwing up immediately?
Morphine and magic mushrooms are not a combo that you hear often.
No.
Even like people who go to EDM concerts and stuff, I don't think they would even do that.
Why would you do morphine at an EDM?
They do that, I think.
Don't get cocktail cherries. It's bad.
Don't do it. Don't do that combo.
And I feel like this is starting to become rock and roll curses. So let's get back to conspiracy business that is of the rocking nature. And since we are recording this on the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, I have a 9/11 related rock and roll conspiracy that claims the band Supertramp predicted the attacks on the Twin Towers on their cover for the 1979 album Breakfast in America. And let's hear about this cover from a man in a loud conference center who is going to describe it for you.
Okay, what you have there is the skyline of New York City. Okay? You have a woman waitress posing as the Statue of Liberty. And of course, it's all being viewed out of an airplane window. You see the outline of the window right there. Now, when you hold it up to the mirror, you gotta look at it in the mirror. Watch the U and the P. It turns into a 9 and an 11. 9, 11.
Okay, apologies for that bad audio. What he was doing, he was putting the album cover for Breakfast in America in front of a mirror, and what you see is the U and P in the name Supertramp become a 9 and 11, and they are right above the Twin Towers. This is a pretty insane coincidence.
It's a coincidence for sure.
No, I don't think so. That looks like it
you
was
talk
meant
about
to be
predictive
like
programming.
It's super. They totally, because they could have picked a different font that would have made the P look even more like a 9.
Yeah, it's kind of behind.
You're right. The P could be more of a 9, but it's close enough for it to be.
That's why I say it's a funny coincidence.
A coincidence. The initial of this show are UP. Man, put that in the mirror. What do you got? I don't know.
that is true.
Son of a bitch.
That's also true.
But play Soundboard 7 because I think I found the most depressing sound clip ever because that upbeat music in this, it makes it almost surreal.
9 and 11. 9, 11.
It's like, I think he's in they're playing some kind of jazzy music. I think he's at a record convention. And,
oh man.
Yeah.
It sounds like a kindergarten class. 9, 11.
That's a great place to have a conversation like this
isn't it?
Yeah.
At like a fair or a circus, those are the best places to have these
Hey,
sort of
you got to catch
things.
it. These guys with these theories, sometimes you just catch them in the wild and you got to just get them on camera as soon as you can because there's more to this. The man is able to find other subtle messages on this album.
And also, if anybody knows anything about the Bible, in Revelations it talks about the great whore of Babylon. If you use a synonym for super, it means great. Tramp, whore, great whore. And you also look on the back cover, there's an airplane flying above the New York skyline with the Twin Towers right there.
What year is this?
I believe it was 1979.
1979. Okay. The name thing, not so much. Great whore out of Supertramp. But on the back cover, there is a very image image in the bottom right corner of a plane above the Twin Towers. It's really strange foreshadowing.
It's definitely, it gives one pause and everything like, wow, look at all the things. It's so weird to see airplanes flying over New York. That just, it never happens. Why would they choose
UP,
that?
the 9/11 right above it. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. That's only one iteration of their album art. If you look at all the other ones, like there's where it shows just like the woman's hand holding the glass of orange juice, where Supertramp is written in a completely different font that's nowhere near it. And even when it's in the same font in a different, like in the vinyl and everything, because I'm looking at that picture right now, it's got the same font and everything, but it is not lined up. Only the U is over the Twin Towers.
Well, I think also the reason he has that specific cover with that font, I think he just purchased it at this record convention. That's why it's so loud.
Okay.
I guess the guy he bought it from, he's telling them the story of how the cover's so cool. And play the next clip
to
because
make a sale.
At the end, we get to hear the reaction of the guy filming who most probably sold him this album.
So I think, honestly, that somebody pre-knew about this. And the guy that supposedly funded Supertramp to get a record deal with A&M Records was a 33rd degree Mason. So, Freemason.
My mind is blown. You got any more secrets of revelations of history?
Actually, yeah, I do, but right now I don't have the records to show them. So if I brought them from home, yeah, I could. And this was going home, so there's another conversation piece for that.
Oh, man, he knows other conspiracy record covers. He's just not telling us about them. Because this guy, he wants to get us all. And he knows if he tells us, it's going to shoot up in value. He's not going to be able to get it for a song at a convention. But he just brings people over his house. He's like, hey, check out this album cover. Now, the conspiracy behind this one is that this is this band, the Hot Rods. He definitely has a Hot Rods album.
I know, right? And this poor guy, he just wants to stay out of trouble. He just wants to keep his conspiracies amongst a tight-knit circle of friends.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to get all blown up over this.
That's true. We're blowing up his spot here. We're playing his theories on the podcast.
You know who he reminds me of right now?
I have the top secret information. I just can't share it. You don't think?
And that's me making that noise because I want to know what these records are so I can buy them and collect all the conspiracy records.
Yes. So what do you guys make of this? Illuminati programming or just a very wild coincidence? What do you think, Drea?
I am thinking that if somebody it's a graphic designer that's coming up with this, not the band. Like the band doesn't usually design all this stuff and place the words next to the images and blah, blah, blah. So if anybody was predicting it, if anybody knew about it, guy, then it was whoever's designing the artwork. But no, this is complete bullshit.
No, I believe this one. What about you, Rob?
This one I think does fall in the realm of like insane coincidence because there is a lot of strange imagery going on here. The airplane on the back pushes it like to the next level. I feel like where you're like, all right, somebody knew something here, but at the same time, it's like
knew something.
You can't take any picture that has an airplane and the Twin Towers in it and just instantly, like in our minds, that'll always be associated with 9/11. But those are also things that the Twin Towers went very high up into the air. Airplanes fly in the air. So, if you're a graphic designer, sometimes you might, incorporate those things with each other. And it's also just like a cool looking design. And nobody's even mentioned they turned the Statue of Liberty into like a waitress or something.
Yeah, like a classic diner waitress with her arm up holding a tray. Yes.
What is she holding? A beer? Either way.
Orange juice.
Unimportant.
Breakfast in America. It's also yes.
But it is very strange. The way that it does say 9/11 on the cover, right and on top of the Twin Towers, even though Drea did say that, it varies.
I don't know about those fonts. I'm talking about record convention guy. He had the font.
I trust this guy.
That said 9/11. He put it up to the mirror.
100%.
All right. Well, I have one more rock and roll conspiracy for this evening. And this one involves the rock group The Rolling Stones and a government plot to destroy them. Now, why would the government want to stop these rocking lads? Let's hear.
The Rolling Stones during the 60s, they were the bad boys, they were the rough kids. If the Beatles are Jesus Christ, they were the devil.
Stones biographer Philip Norman witnessed the moral panic that surrounded Jagger and the band on both sides of the Atlantic.
It was the fear that they were turning young kids onto drugs. That was the main thing, but also turning them onto sort of, sexuality, immorality, as it was put. Moral turpitude was the American phrase for drug taking. It was all to do with morals.
The Polish Count, nicknamed Prince Stash, toured with the Stones as one of their inner circle.
They thought that you would infect their kids. In America, people would literally stop and try and say, are you a boy or a girl, and want to physically fight you just because of the way you look. I mean, it is unbelievable in this day and age to think that, but it was like that all the time.
This was a rough time, says Prince Stash. And the Rolling Stones were the embodiment of everything the older generation feared about the 60s counterculture movement. And this is somehow now a conspiracy. I don't think I've ever asked you guys, what, Stones or Beatles?
Oh, come on, dude. Is that even a question? You know me.
All right, what about you, Rob?
Was that even an answer?
Beatles.
Okay, obviously. Yeah, the Beatles. I've never really been a big Stones fan. That's like a strange confession I have to make right now.
Like they were good and everything, but then once they got to unfortunately they went on too long. They got to the 80s and it was
I've never been in the mood for some Rolling Stones. Ever. It just, if it's on, I'll listen to it. But I've been in the mood for the Beatles before, that's for sure.
Yeah. And if it's up to me, Stones, Beatles, Hot Rods, I'll go with.
I should have fucking known.
But the Rolling Stones are a clear threat to all things decent and moral, and it was time to take them down.
It all began when an alleged Canadian drug dealer, David Schneiderman, nicknamed Acid King Dave, was stopped by customs at London's Heathrow Airport.
He had landed with drugs in his luggage, which had been found. He had expected to be locked up and then deported, which is the sort of thing that would usually happen. What he described as some heavy people had then started to talk to him and offered him a deal. He would be let off and allowed to go back to the States if he would infiltrate or try to infiltrate the Rolling Stones circle and give them acid, which would allow the police to raid them and bust them.
Yes, Acid King Dave, a man busted with drugs, of course, and being groomed by the FBI and other authorities to entrap the Rolling Stones and stop them.
Like they wouldn't just do that themselves.
Like they don't have. They need this one guy.
I think they need much convincing to do some acid.
Like, look, this band is doing too much crazy stuff and drugs, and you need to make sure that they get caught with drugs.
And make sure you get in.
Very difficult.
Get in their inner circle while you're at it.
Let's talk about acid. Let's talk about Acid King Dave for a minute, though. How do you think he got that nickname? I feel like
I don't know, ecstasy.
Oh, right. I feel like he walks around in a crown that is literally
just made of tabs, sugar cube crown he's got on.
Made out of drugs, yeah, basically.
And he can't go out in the rain.
And hey, his name is Dave Schneiderman too, so that's kind of associated here. We got some Schneider action going on.
Yeah. I'd go to that deli.
But here is how they plan on using Acid King Dave Schneiderman to stop them.
Norman believes that British customs passed Schneiderman on to their FBI colleagues, who, he claims, realized very quickly that the drug Schneiderman was carrying could be the perfect way to destroy the Rolling Stones. If the band were caught red-handed with those drugs, they would never get the visa they needed to perform in America. If this theory is to be believed, then everything fell into place in February 1967, when Schneiderman engineered a meeting with Keith Richards.
Keith Richards attracted a lot of people from the sort of shady margins of the drug dealing world. And he'd met David Schneiderman, who promised him some special LSD that weekend called Sunshine.
Yeah, see, Sunshine, that was the in. He's the king of acid. He's got all kind of great acid, but Sunshine, everyone knows Keith Richards, he loves acid so much. This is the easiest way to get into him. This is a solid plan.
It's called Sunshine.
Schneiderman's old-time sunshiny acid.
I'm feeling because you will still be tripping when the sun comes up is basically why they probably named it that.
It's like it doesn't matter what time of the day you pop that shit, there's sunshine. in your brain.
Oh, yeah.
That's the Schneiderman guarantee. So Schneiderman, he does make his way into a Keith Richards drug party, and now the trap is set.
On Sunday, February the 12th, 1967, it's claimed the party took Schneiderman's acid and then went for a walk on West Wittering Beach. As the group returned to Redlands for the night, the alleged plot was swinging into action. According to music journalist Simon Wells, a tip-off had reached the local police, who now began planning a drugs raid.
They had to rally their troops, and this meant pulling in beat bobbies from Bognor and Selsey. You know, the characters would be going around on push bikes.
As the police drove to the house, Richards and his guests were still high on Schneiderman's drugs.
All these characters, Marianne Faithfull, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, are sitting down. This is very 60s. They've got a little flashing strobe light going off in the corner.
There was a knock at the door, and when Keith Richards answered it, Chief Inspector Gordon Dinley showed him a warrant and immediately began to search the premises.
Keith Richards has since said in his tripped out state that he thought when this black surge of the uniforms appeared, you know, all he could see was the flashing silver buttons, and he thought, wow, it's cosmic, you know, what are these goblins doing here from another planet?
Yeah, we got goblins. See, this episode really does have everything now. Goblins, rods, conspiracies. It's great.
Sunshine. It's crazy.
They will show up after a while if you take enough acid. Those goblins. I've seen them before. Going for a walk on acid, you might run into some goblins.
This is such
hairy little guys running around, peeking up from behind bushes. No, thank you.
This is it seems like such a clear setup. It's like, why did they need beat bobbies for this? Like he was saying, it's like, were they expecting to fight like a few hippies in a house? And I think maybe it just every cop found out about this, and they're like, well, I want to go meet the Rolling Stones. We're going to Keith Richards' house. Like, yeah, bring everyone.
That part sounds a bit more likely, that it was just they were probably they could probably hold like a raffle within a certain range, saying like, who wants to be on this crew who's gonna, you know, bust.
Who's the most goblin looking? Let's freak out Keith Richards. We know he's tripping on sunshine. We know how hardcore that stuff is. We said it.
Keith Richards just backed into the corner, like down crouched
holding
down,
a crucifix,
just like
up.
holding a crucifix, just like terrified, eyes bloodshot wide open.
Oh my
Bloody
God.
Schneiderman, king my ass. So the police, of course, found drugs on the premises, and the Stones are now in big trouble. But they also found something else.
A rumor started going around that when the police had arrived, Mick was performing a sexual act on Marianne that involved a Mars bar.
Give that to a journalist.
Excuse me?
And it immediately becomes a complete distortion.
There was no chocolate bar at all, but this has become one of the longest-lived myths in rock culture.
No chocolate bar, huh? I don't know. What so they're claiming that during this raid, they saw Mick Jagger doing something with a Mars bar to Marianne Faithfull. I don't know.
What was he doing,
do you think
Russ?
they were doing?
Yeah,
I was going to ask you guys, what do you think they were doing with the Mars bar? What kind of sexual act do you do with that? Was she just eating it? And they're like, oh, God.
Yeah, he's just feeding it to her. And like, I don't know. I don't want to think about what else can be done with a Mars bar, but let's just pretend that she was just only doing like banana oral type things with that Mars bar. I don't want to think about anything else other than that.
These horrible rumors swirling around. Just poor Marianne Faithfull. That's just terrible.
I hope he didn't eat it. That's all I'm going to say is I hope he didn't eat it afterwards.
Oh, you know he did.
It's just a wild rumor.
Yeah.
It's a wild rumor. And the Mars, it might just be a rumor. But here's what they actually did find in this historic rock and roll conspiracy drug bust.
Key to this conspiracy theory is the claim that Schneiderman's case was never searched, and he was allowed to vanish. Instead, the police focused on Jagger and Richards. But despite searching the house, the police found very little evidence of drugs.
For the amount of personnel on the raid, they found very little. They found some scrapings of hashish off a stone table near a fireplace. Mick Jagger had 4 amphetamine-based pills, which he had in Italy and left in a pocket and hadn't thought about.
No arrests were made that night. But once the suspected drugs were confirmed by the laboratories, Mick was charged with possession of amphetamines, and Keith with allowing his house to be used for the smoking of marijuana. If the conspiracy theory is correct, then it wasn't the drugs haul the FBI had allegedly been hoping for. But it was certainly enough to ruin the Rolling Stones' chances of ever getting a US visa.
In 1967, the potential sentence for allowing one's house for the smoking of cannabis was 10 years. You could get 10 years in jail for allowing someone to have a joint in your house.
10 years for a joint that you get set up by the Acid King. Man, these drug laws, these are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Such bullshit.
That's some bullshit.
And they're only barely being like remedied now, you know?
True.
Just, I don't want to get into a whole thing there, but that's insane.
I would be doing life in prison if I lived at this time, I think. It's just
I'd already be in prison by now.
Truly a nightmare.
The stuff they're going to scrape off that table. And this becomes just a giant show trial in this small town where Keith Richards' joint smoking house was. And the courthouse had fans flooded outside. And the verdict handed down were 3 months in prison for Mick Jagger for having those amphetamines he forgot he had in his pocket from Italy, and a year in prison for Keith Richards for his house being used as a pot den. And That is a very harsh sentence.
Yeah. You know what he probably sounded like in court, though? It probably sounded kind of like this. Was not tripping, just amphetamines.
The judge wasn't hearing it, and he throws his verdict at him, but someone would come to the Rolling Stones' aid.
Incredibly, their savior was the Times newspaper, which did much to change the public mood.
The Times newspaper, which was a very, very conservative paper in the late 60s, realized this had gone much too far, and a famous editorial was published saying that Jagger had not been fairly treated. He had received much harsher treatment than any ordinary young man would have received.
The editorial was written by the Times editor, William Rees-Mogg, a man at the heart of the establishment. Partly as a result of the editorial, Richard's sentence was overturned, and Jagger was given a conditional discharge. By 1969, the Stones had their American visas. 6 decades on, the Rolling Stones are the longest-serving rock band in the world, and are still sounding as good as ever.
All right, that last part might be debatable, but they came out of this. A conservative news outlet spoke out, and you can argue that helped change rock history. And so this is the most credible conspiracy we've discussed so far, I think. The FBI is involved, and clearly.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what part of this is like the conspiracy. It all kind of makes just like logical sense. Like, okay.
That there was a setup, a government setup.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, but that happens all the goddamn time.
You know what? That's the problem with government setups is that at this point they are just a thing, and they're not even really conspiracies anymore, because we know for a fact that they're real and that they happen.
They got together.
Yeah. All the time.
Acid King Snyderman was going to sing. He set him up. This whole party was set up. But guess what? You can't stop The Rock. And the bad part about this is that Snyderman, he had a ton of drugs on him. They know that from the reports of him being there. And he just disappears. He just was allowed to walk. Shameful what they did to him.
He's the king. He can go, you know what I mean? He gets extra treatment, special treatment for being the king, obviously.
And Marianne Faithfull comes out with terrible rumors about her from all this because of the FBI.
Butt or something, yeah.
Yeah, whatever she was doing.
That is not what happened.
See, they besmirch her name with all this, and they tried to stop the Stones.
How dare you?
They couldn't. So what do you think, Drea? You got any final thoughts on this rockin' conspiracy?
I mean, I will say I'm relieved. I thought it was, every now and then we come across some conspiracies, like when we were doing, like, say, the Mandela effect. I know that doesn't all the way fall under conspiracy, but it'll start to fuck with my head. And so I was a little bit concerned about what you were going to dig up for us this week. But I feel pretty unscathed, which is good. I feel like all is well in the world of rock and roll, and everything's fine.
Yeah, it couldn't be more popular as ever. All the SoundCloud rockers out there doing their thing.
Hey, whoa. All right, that hurts.
So what about you, Rob? Any final thoughts?
I feel like these stories, all three of these stories, became more and more based in reality as we progressed on through this episode. Whereas this final story really does feel like it's very plausible. And I could see the setup here, and it's cool how it kind of ties into the satanic panic of what was going on at the time. And, you know, it's an interesting theory. And I don't know why they needed help getting drugs into the hands of the Rolling Stones, like you said earlier, because they did all of the drugs basically that I know of. So I don't know why they really needed to set them up in that way, but it does sound like this could have happened for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, this was definitely I felt like it was veering into curses and getting way too low. I was like, conspiracies. Stay in the conspiracy. Let's get the law involved. This is nuts and bolts conspiracy. So be sure and answer this week's poll. What's the best rock conspiracy or rock-spiracy?
Like the most believable, yeah.
Yes. Is it King killed Lennon? Is it Page hates rods? Is it the Mark Bolan curse? Or is it Stone set up by FBI? Just go to unbelieverspodcast.com to vote, and let's rock out. Yeah, do anything you want to do. God, he takes forever to get to the chorus. That is Eddie and the Hot Rods with the Aleister Crowley inspired song.
That wasn't so bad. That was pretty good. I like that, actually.
I don't know. It made me want to curse the shit out of them.
Really? Wow.
Well, that's been taken care of already, Dre. You don't have to go that far.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, and actually I had two little conspiracies I didn't include in there because they were just kind of really easily dismissible or believed. I don't know. Have you guys ever heard that Stevie Wonder can actually see?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like
there's a great video.
A little insulting, but I have heard of it before.
There's a video of him, catching a mic stand that is knocked over by Paul McCartney, another rock and roll conspiracy favorite, and Stevie Wonder catches the mic stand, and he shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, man. Conspiracy bros got to look out for
he's
each
like
other.
Matt Murdock, Daredevil, man. Of course he can catch that shit.
He can hear
He's
it.
been doing this for a while.
Yeah, it's that Stevie instinct. He just grabs it. So I don't know about that one. The other one was that Gene Simmons had his tongue replaced with a cow's tongue, and that's
true.
Of course,
that's actually true. I heard.
No,
have you ever seen it?
I can't tell if you're being
have
serious
you seen
or
it?
not. I have seen his tongue, but
that thing was in a cow once.
How would that work, Rob?
No. Have you ever seen a cow tongue?
Yeah, they look just like Gene Simmons' tongue. It's weird.
Yeah, it's very weird. Rock and roll conspiracies are all very strange. You got Mars bars and everything else, but let's move on. Yeah, let's move on to hear a couple of Unbeliever voice mailbag.
The Unbelievers mailbag.
Ooh, right in the mailbag.
Hey man, check your mailbox.
Hey, you got some new mail over here.
Mailbag. The mailbag is cool. Mailbag.
Sup, bitches? It's mail time. Woo!
All right, woo. We've got a couple of mailbag mail voicemails to listen to, right, Rob?
We do. You know what I'm still thinking about, man? Remember a couple weeks ago we got that really weird one? Did anybody ever figure out? Do you guys ever listen back on that?
I forgot about that.
I wonder what. We never got any more. That's the only reason why I'm bringing it up.
Back.
I keep assuming that every time I check the voicemails, there's going to be another one of those creepy messages.
I don't want them to call back.
I kind of want to hear what the next phase of it is. So if you're listening, Weird Robot Call, give us another call.
I don't think we get any tonight. We do have a couple of quick ones though. So let's hear what we got.
Okay.
Hey, guess who it is? That's right. It is Big Bird from Sesame Street. No, seriously though. It's late Unbeliever. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, late Unbeliever.
Yeah, I have finally caught up and hold on.
Oh. Congrats. He's not late anymore.
Is that a Popeyes? Dig it. The Popeyes. Fucking ain't working here. Anyways.
All right. You still there, late Unbeliever?
That's pretty much it I got to say. I don't know. Bye.
All right, goodbye. Late Unbeliever is now caught up. He's seeing Popeyes everywhere. Do we have to change the name? Is he not Late Unbeliever? He's current, claiming he's current.
I have a feeling that he's only going to be current for a little bit. He's gonna get behind really quick.
Can we call him Up to Date Unbeliever?
I don't know if that doesn't.
Maybe just this week.
Good. Forget I said that.
That's up to him.
Because everybody's up to date.
I mean, you would think. You would hope.
Maybe.
The true Unbelievers.
All right. Well, I think we got one more. Let's hear it.
Hey, it's Late Unbeliever again.
Oh.
Sorry about the previous message, but I guess I got a little bit nervous.
Oh.
Hi, how are you guys?
Hey, how you doing, Late Unbeliever?
I'm doing all right.
Great.
I've gotten several questions.
Okay. Yeah, we're here to answer.
Like,
that's fine.
For example, Drea, do you happen to do free tarot card readings? And even then, do you even do tarot card readings? Like, I listen to the podcast, but like, I listen to it while I'm working, and at that time, I'm kind of like spaced out, and I don't know what half the things are going on. So in a sense, I'm still catching up, but I mean, I've already caught up. But anyways,
I think he caught up. And
I love this call.
What else?
I'm sorry, we have to go to line 2 on Late Unbeliever.
Are you from the Big Island?
I mean.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in, Late Unbeliever.
Bye.
All right.
Oh, okay. Love you. Bye.
He's there. Yeah, we can do like the George Norrie thing. We can nix him. We can pull him back in. Hold on, Late Unbeliever. You don't have to do this anymore. No. So Drea, about tarot card readings. I know that I know on Patreon we still, till anyone on there, we do send out a tarot reading from the Unbelievers tarot card set. We always send a 3-card random pull, and Drea has read readings to people that have gotten that. So I guess the answer is kind of yes, right?
Yeah, I mean, in general, with those, it was difficult because they were sent at random, and then the time that they have them, and then by the time I receive a picture of it, it's just, I don't know. It usually has to kind of be like, like in the moment type thing. But yeah, I mean, I do readings. I generally do them for free, and I work for tips like a common street worker. It's fine. It's fine. I'll give you a reading if you want.
Yeah, there you go. And she's not gonna rip you off. There's no Miss Cleo situation or anything like that.
No, just if you want to give me $100, I'll take it.
You can definitely give it to her, and I bet you your cards are gonna look a lot better.
She did used to speak with a fake Jamaican accent all the time, though, which I'm very glad Drea stopped doing.
She has broken
every time she would give a tarot
reading. How dare you call that fake? It has taken me years of speech therapy. And this is the thing.
I would say, Drea, just don't give the readings in patois, and we're all good, basically.
I'm trying my best.
And you are. You're doing great. I mean, I didn't say congratulations earlier for the episode, like the Monsters Underground guys. And yes, thank you very much. Late, current, up-to-date Unbeliever. Wherever you're going to go by, we'll hear from you soon, I'm sure, because you'll be back on the Unbelievers voicemail bag.
The Unbelievers mail bag. Ooh, right in the mailbag.
Hey, man, check your mailbox.
Hey, you got some new mail over here.
Mailbag. The mailbag is cool. Mailbag.
Sup, bitches? It's mail time. Woo!
Woo! Champion. Well, we've come to the end of the show, or close to it, because we got one more thing. Everyone's third favorite segment, poll results. This week's poll, what is the Yeti? And the choices were Snow Bigfoot, Denisovans, Weird Bears, or We Don't Know. And I'm going to ask you, Drea Mora, what do you think the Unbelievers said?
The first one. The
Snow Bigfoot?
Snow Bigfoot. Yeah,
Okay.
I still stand by that.
All right. What about you, Rob?
I think they're going to say Denisovans for some reason.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rob. Drea with 14.29%. Snow Bigfoot. Snow Bigfoot ran away with it.
It's the truth. Bigfoot. That's why.
In the question of what is the Yeti, but of course there are others. What is the Yeti? Rod's controlling a meat robot in a fursuit. Signed, Rod Lover 69. Okay, Rods can control a meat robot in a fursuit. I like that.
It's kind of like
oh no, vampire rod.
Vampire rod situation going on here.
Thank you, Rod Lover 69. What is the Yeti? He's an alcoholic, a dope addict, and a pervert of various ways. Signed, Rococo style. Rococo style. And now, do we have perverts of various ways, Rob? That is not one, is it?
I have a pervert. I don't know what it is. Let's see.
I'm not a dirty man. I'm not a pervert either, like you.
Oh, that Patreon
one.
pervert clip. That's
from Unbelievers Skeptic, my 12-year-old paranormal show.
My bladder's busted.
But thank you so much to gotta go to the bathroom. No, to
of the Rococo style that embellished the building.
What is the Yeti? Me, I am Yate. Oh, and he did the AE like connected thing in there. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Yate. What is the Yeti? He's hairy. He's scary. He's got a reputation. Just remember, you got to do it for the Yeti. Signed, the Wombat Preservationist. There's some good ones in there. We got Elijah Henderson with... Oh, wait, no. Lyle Black.
He's hairy. He's scary.
Yeah, but this one's even better.
It's hairy and it's brown and it has a reputation.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Wombat Preservationist. What is the Yeti? You know what? I wish Yeti were my dad. He'd come up and be like, "Hola, mija," and then we'd beat up Rick Dyer for kicks. Signed, Blue Box UFO. Thanks, Blue Box UFO.
I wish Bigfoot were my dad.
And you think he's gonna come up to you and say,
"Hola, mija."
Okay, yes, and then you go beat up Rick Dyer. Thank you, Blue Box UFO. What is the Yeti? What did you get if you cross a bear with a yak? A stiff rebuke from the Science Ethics Committee and all your funding pulled. Signed, K. Mill.
Love
Really
it.
good.
Bear yak theory. Yeah, that wouldn't
I guess
fly either.
it would be called a year, right? Or what would it be called?
Or a back. Or a back. Yeah, a year back.
A year back. It's not this though. What is the Yeti? For those haters out there that say he's just a bear, I'm going to stop you right there. Signed, Mothman Mother.
For those haters out there who think this is fake, I'll stop you right there.
Thank you, Mothman Mother. What is the Yeti? We don't know, but they aren't white. Signed, Bop Midler. Oh, Bop Midler's back.
Oh.
We don't know.
Thank you, Bop Midler. Oh, yeah, keep it simple. What is the Yeti? Not a growler bear. It's a straight bear. Otherwise, it would be gay for one thing, and we don't do that. Signed, Pants Filler. Ooh, man.
To me, they look like straight bears.
Yeah, I don't even think I got to play that last week. I almost forgot it. Thank you. Wait, he got the reptilian.
We don't get in bed with the reptilians, okay? It's gay for one thing. We don't do that.
Thank you.
All I gotta say is, go to San Francisco. You'll find plenty of non-straight bears there.
Oh, that's true. And you know what they have?
The broad-shouldered beast has the body of a bear.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Rob's tagging your poll result. Thank you so much to...
Be throwing up and filling my pants.
What is the Yeti? A bear dog or a hog dog? Timmy the banana peeler. Oh, yeah. Signed, Timmy the banana peeler. Thank you, Timmy Peeler.
Nice.
It's a what?
Bear dogs and hog dogs.
Good one, Timmy the banana peeler. I like the banana.
Get away from here. Get away.
Yeah, you need that.
All right, we love it, Timmy. What is the Yeti? Half man, half Dennis, half ugly motherfucker. Signed, Harley Warren. Half Dennis.
Half otter, half human.
Close enough, Rob. Thanks, Harley Warren. What is the Yeti? The Yeti's dead. My old dad killed him and took his cave. Okay, so now we got the origin of Scared of My Dad Guy's dad's cave.
Wow. Okay, so I guess we'll give him dad. Bigfoot is his dad.
I wish Bigfoot were my dad.
Thank you, Scared of My Dad Guy. What is the Yeti? Now, guys, do we have to get Violet Monroe in here again? Signed, Corrupted Mask. I mean, I would be against it. You can put her back on, get her to say something on Twitter or something.
Is she going to summon a Yeti or what?
You can just talk about Yetis. That's fine. You don't just say soundboard clips, corrupted mask. What is the Yeti? Yeti is the big box I use to keep my beer cold. Signed, Hose B.
Oh.
Yeah, those Yeti coolers are. We didn't even mention
Those are
that.
so good.
Those things are awesome and they're everywhere. But people seem obsessed with that brand. Like people put those Yeti stickers on their car, which is cool to see a cryptid name. I see it in the South all the time.
I don't know
people
about that.
love
That's a
their
weird
Yeti.
move. I don't see it. I don't know why anybody.
It's a weird flex.
Why would you love it that much that you need to put a sticker on your car?
Like they're cool and everything, no pun intended, but
Guys,
relax.
It's hot down here. Cold beverages are premium, but we're getting distracted. We're getting poll results.
You're right.
What? Thank you, Hose B. What is the Yeti? Could you smell it? Cause Yeti or not, here it comes. Signed, left-handed buckle grabber. We had a new smell it for you.
Could you smell it?
Oh, is that the new one?
That's the new one.
All right, cool. Yeah, Yeti or not, here it comes. Thank you to...
I remember gripping my belt buckle with my left hand, I think it was.
Thank you, left-handed buckle grabber. And the final one for this evening, what is the Yeti? Heathcliff, it's me. I'm Kathy. I've come home. I found a Wampa. Signed, Voodoo. Right. Leaving off on a real thinker from Voodoo. Thank you, Voodoo. So...
comic strips?
So many great... Yeah, Heathcliff and Kathy were in there. A lot to think
Kathy,
about.
Mondays. Isn't that Kathy?
That's Kathy. That's it. And so let's see. We had so many great ones tonight for What is the Yeti? We had Rod Lover 69 with Rod's controlling a meat robot in a fursuit. We had Rococo Style with he's an alcoholic, a dope addict, and pervert of various ways. We had Yate with Me I Am. We had the Wombat Preservationist with he's hairy, he's scary, he's got a reputation. Just remember, you got to do it for the Yeti. Oh, yes, yo. Love that song. We had Blue Box UFO with, you know what? I wish Yeti were my dad. He'd come up and be like, hola, mija. And then we beat up Rick Dyer for kicks. We had K Mill with, what do you get if you cross a bear with a yak? A stiff rebuke from science ethics committees and all your funding pulled. We had Mothman Mother with, for those haters out there that say she's just a bear, I'm going to stop you right there. We had Bob Midler with, we don't know, but they aren't white. We had Pants Filler with, not a growler bear, it's a straight bear. Otherwise, it would be gay for one thing, and we don't do that. It's pretty funny. Pretty funny when Pants Filler.
Pretty good. Well done.
We had Timmy the Banana Peeler with a bear dog or a hog dog. We had Harley Warren with half man, half Dennis, half ugly motherfucker. We had Scared of My Dad guy with the Yeti's dead. My old dad killed him and took his cave. He had Corrupted Mask. Now, guys, do I have to get Violet Monroe in here again? We had Hose B with Yeti is the big box I use to keep my beer cold. We have Left-Handed Buckle Grabber. Could you smell it? Because Yeti or not, here it comes. And Voodoo with Heathcliff, it's me. I'm Kathy. I've come home. I found a Wampa. I'm going to ask you, Drea Mora, who do you think won this week's poll?
Oh, man. I think I'm going to have to give it to K Mill with what do you get when you cross a bear and a yak?
That bastard. He's so good.
I like that one too. What about you, Rob? Who did you like?
I liked Mothman Mothers this week because that's how I felt watching that documentary. I was like, they're a bunch of haters. Saying it's bears.
Oh, all right. I like that angle too, man. Pants Filler, you get my runner-up for sure. But congratulations for those haters out there that say he's just a bear. I'm going to stop you right there.
I like how it rhymed.
Good. That was really good.
Mothman Mother, you just won this week's poll results. We come to the end of the program, but before we go, Drea Mora, do you have anything you want to say or plug this week before Mothman Non-Fest?
Yeah, it actually has exactly to do with that. Spirits and Spirits are going to be bringing a Ouija board, unfortunately, with us to the cabin. So if you have anything you want us to ask the board, you can send over some questions we're at Ghost Drinkers on Twitter and Spirits and Spirits Pod on Instagram.
All right, yeah, go hit them up on Twitter because I will be there for this. I'll get to see these answers. I'll ask some of these questions. This is great. How about you, Rob? Anything to say or plug?
I will just plug one of the shows I work on. They did a great interview with George W. Bush, who may or may not be James Adomian this week. Abe Lincoln's Top Hat. Check out the newest episode of that. I edit that show. Besides that, check out our Patreon. And yeah, I can't wait to see what we come up with out in West Virginia, guys. So that's the last plug is just us getting together.
Yeah. Yes,
you're gonna plug us.
I'm plugging us.
So next week's episode, yes, we will be talking about our experience there. We will be recording an episode there, a regular episode in person with each other. So look forward to that next week. And that is it. The Unbelievers podcast hosts today were Drea, Mora, and me, Rus Ryan. Our producer and soundboard engineer is Rob Okey. You can get our tarot cards at unbelievablepodcards.com. Hint, hint. And you can join our Patreon by going to patreon.com/unbelieverspodcast. You can follow the show on Twitter at unbelieverspod and Instagram at unbelieverspodcast. And our Facebook group is the Unbelievable Podcast Network. Check out our merch store at TeePublic. There is a link in the description. And thanks so much to the patrons: Dominic Shealy, Lid Vicious, Linnea Sterte, Fabian, Art Muffin, Nick Marshall, Ramiro, Sam Schvoval, Creepy Little Book, Johnny Knotts, Sandra and Deborah Foles, Cade Bote, Chris Stroker, Jeffrey Hartschnarf, Luis Payon, 8-Bit Melody, Jenny Dyer, Christopher Balderrama, David Egelhoff, Pam Z, JT Sprankle, Vic Voss, Little BB, Dr. Ortega, Tyler Ventura, Adam Dvorak, Corrupted Mass, Michael Phillips, Carol Valley, May to Give You Up to Alta, CJP, Braden Hit, Raymond Rowell, Todd X, Christopher Benici, The Moon, Next Week Moon, Chill, Mike Henry, Bryce Cronenberg Jr., Don Bright, Shannon Ferrigno, Tom O'Connell, Donna Bance, Jenna Stevens, Cat Chaos, Jason Kelly, Mike, Brian Ashton, Michael Armenta, Jackass, The Wombat Preservationist. Our music advisor is Pandora3373. Our official composer and theme song creator is Unbeliever A.A. Ron, a.k.a. Aaron Chilb. Follow him on Instagram at The Aaron Chilb. Our official graphic designer and card maker who designed our logo is Raymond Rowell. Check out his work at P. Raven Creative on Twitter and Project Raven Creative on Instagram. And check out his cool poster he did for the Tournament of SOS that we put on Instagram. Very cool. Thank you so much for that. And our official Unbeliever listening between the stations for a message from Art Bell is Scott E. Our official Hazmat Lou is Hazmat Lou. Our official Unbeliever without a title is Nicholas Arastavi. Our official Unbeliever raising puck wedgies is Joe Filler. Our official Big Island Paranormal Friendly Weatherman is Green Finhawk. Our official resident Sagittarius is Coz Anton. Our official Madman is Unbeliever Adam. Our official Mothman enthusiast is Michael Shields. Our official Unbelievers move on Inside Man is Chris De Moraes. Our official Unbelievers peacefully eating a hamburger is Michelle Durham. Those three people in a row I know will be at Mothman next week. Our official Unbelievers time traveler is Taylor Nelson. Our official ghost hunter is Amelia Childs and Ghost Hunting in New England. And Hubie Halloween. Halloween is coming. And our official senior European correspondent is Kay Mill of the I Don't Know podcast. Our official Guardian of the Bench is at Kraken Stack. Our official Alien Bopper is Nunchuck Bob. And this week's Unbeliever Focus is Chris Porteous, who I was really hoping to meet up with you in Point Pleasant, and you're not going to be there. He claimed that the issue was transportation, which I don't believe for a second. So I asked him.
But don't you have a van and all that?
Yeah.
Good night. Do anything you want to do.
Discontinue! Discontinue!